Hey, kia ora, Helen Brahms here coming to you live from Tucson, Arizona. Hope you're all having a super fantastic sparkling day. Today has been exhausting. Huh. Do you like my new wind-blowing dew? So it's been a very long, actually, it hasn't actually been hot today. It did get up to 79, 80, but it didn't feel hot because of the wind that we had. So picked up the rental car this morning, got that all sorted out, and then headed straight out to Old Tucson. Now, Old Tucson is where the spirit of the Old West comes alive, and it is a place that's kind of like Universal Studios. It is a working film set, but it's for westerns. It's had over 400. This year it's celebrating its 80th anniversary, but it's had over 400 movies, TV shows, commercials, all shot there. It was amazing. It was awesome. I didn't know what to expect going there, and had a great time. I didn't stay through till 4 o'clock. I got a little exhausted, but I kind of felt like I was wearing the wrong clothes. I had jeans on. That was okay. I had jeans on. But most of the people walking around had on cowboy boots, really well-worn dark jeans, the Western type shirts, the ones with the little snap button, the little Western type shirts, and hats. Most of them had Stetsons on, and I was like, well, I don't have a Stetson. I'm wearing jeans. Yes, wearing jeans. But as far as boots go and Western shirts, no. I was t-shirt, sneakers, and jeans. That was me, and a backpack. Yeah, and there was all these people walking around looking very cowboyish, and I sort of thought, oh. And I got there just in time. They opened at 10 o'clock. I got there just after 10 o'clock, right in time for their first tour of the day to start. And it's a walking tour around the movie set and everything else. And they had a guy there, whose name I can't remember. I'm sorry. I'm still, even though I've drunk a heap of water today, like more than I normally drink, I'm still feeling very dehydrated right now. So it's playing on the brain a little bit. But this guy has worked at Old Tucson for many, many years. He just celebrated his 51st wedding anniversary with his wife, which was kind of cool. But he took us on this walking tour around, and he goes, okay, now where we're standing in this movie, in this particular scene here, we had John Wayne, and we had this person, we had that person, and this is what they did here. And then in this movie over here, where you remember in this movie, The Young Riders, where they had the driving of the cattle, well, they came down here and went around this way, and there was Emilio Estevez they were driving the cattle, and they came this way. And then remember I can't remember the name of the other movie, in that movie, and we're like, yeah, and some people are like, yeah, and he said, well, that's where they brought the cattle up that road, and they went that way instead of coming this way. So Young Riders went that way, and the other one went that way. So it was kind of interesting, and they were showing about, and he had photographs there, like he had this binder that had these different photographs and stuff in it, and so he was able to point to them and show them. And he was talking about some of the friends that he'd made with the celebrities and things that had been there, and he was talking about the time when John Wayne was there. Of course, he was there when John Wayne was doing a lot of his movie shoots and all that sort of stuff, and he was telling us about the night that when John Wayne won the Oscar for True Grit, and how when he came back, everybody on the lot, because he was in the middle of shooting True Grit. Yeah, it was True Grit. He was in the middle of shooting some other movie, and when he came back, everybody's wearing an eye patch. Everybody. And they had this big celebration and everything else, and so it's kind of cool. And so I was talking about some of the people who have been through there, some of the movies that were created and that sort of thing. They had a little museum area there where you could go in and you could see, like I've always enjoyed the movie Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid with Paul Newman and Robert Redford. Thought it was a great movie and stuff. I didn't realize they were real people, as far as the people they were portraying in the movie were actually real people, and that was actual events. And they had this whole thing there about Butch Cassidy, the Sundance Kid, and what were they called? Jeepers, like I said, fried brain. They had this whole thing there about them with actual pictures of what these guys looked like. And then, of course, they had Jesse James and the gang, pictures of them there, and they were talking about the shootout, the OK Corral. Well, I'm heading down to Tombstone on Monday, so I will have even more information about that. But of course, they filmed the movie Tombstone at old Tucson. So it was actually really good going around there, and they had different stores and stuff that you could go in and have a look. And I did pick up a book. It's called Old Tucson Studios, and it's full of pictures from the different movies that were shot there, the different movie sets and everything else. So, and some of these pictures were similar to what we had seen today. So that's kind of a good, was a really good memento of the tour that we did and all of that sort of stuff. And then we heard about the big fire that they had there in 1995 that basically razed the back North Lot area. And that had been an area where they actually had a street there, and I can't, God, I'm sorry, my brain is fried today. And I think it was Kennedy Street. And they used to use that Kennedy Street a lot in Little House on the Prairie, here, Highway to Heaven, and Father Brown, all Michael Landon productions. And so it was kind of interesting hearing about that. But of course, we couldn't see it because it was no longer there. It had all been burnt down in 1995. And the cause of it was never found, but they suspect it was arson. I'm like, assholes. Excuse me, but just burning things for the fun of it. No, not good. Did the train ride around. If you check on my Facebook page, I did a quick Facebook, like I wasn't expecting to get on the train when I did, and was going to go down and wait for the train, and it was still sitting there, and the guy was about to take off with it, so he waited. I got onto the train, and I'm sitting there and I'm frantically, like, quickly typing train, I think it was Old Tucson train ride or something like that, so go check that out. And basically just put the thing up, switched it over, and just, oh, here we go. Felt very rushed because I wasn't sitting on the train, relaxing, typing it in, and I would put the stuff in there and all that. No, it was just like Old Tucson train ride. So go check that out. It was a loop around the area and everything else. And I forgot to turn the AC. I thought I turned the AC off. Huh. Guess I forgot. So I did that. Went and saw, what was it called? Oh, Lady Vivian's Dance Hall Casting Call. That was awesome. They had Miss Diamond, Miss Scarlet Diamond, was looking for some new girls. And she had Miss Daisy, who was the very prim and proper, very innocent girl from the East. And then they had Miss Polly, who had just come in probably from some roundup somewhere on the farm, on the ranch, and hadn't bathed in several weeks. And then they had the gunslinger type girl who really didn't want to get up on stage and sing, but she got up and did it anyway. It was a fun storyline and a fun show. Had lunch at what's it called? Big Jake's. Big Jake's is the name of the smoker. This is the itinerary this is the events for the day, and this is the map. And so I went to Big Jake's for lunch. Yum. Great barbecue. That was awesome. I had the sample, which was, I got to choose 2 meats. So I had brisket, and I had roasted chicken breast marinated with prickly pear barbecue sauce. Have you ever seen a prickly pear? It grows on cactus. It's really cool. I remember back when I was in school, like 20 years ago, when I was doing my associate degrees, and we were in Food Prep 101. And one of the things we had to do was we had to pick an exotic fruit and do a whole report on it. And so I ended up doing prickly pear, which is a fruit from the cactus. It's an awesome flavor. And so I hadn't had any prickly pear since then. And so it was really cool to have this chicken that had the prickly pear barbecue sauce on it. Wandered around. They had this great smelling place, and you'd step in the door, and it was all homemade fudge. And she was busy making candy apples, because they've got this thing there on at night that's called Nightfall, and it goes through the whole month of October, and the whole place is decked out in Halloween type thing, Halloween themes and all that sort of stuff. And then at night it becomes a completely different, like a Wild West, a haunted Wild West thing. And they have these different food stores open with special foods for that. And they have different events going on in some of the stores. They have different shows on, and it's all related to this thing, and it's been going for years. And it started off, sorry, she knows. They started it off as, I think it was like a week, and then it ended up becoming this whole month-long thing at Halloween event. And since I don't really do Halloween and all that sort of stuff, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to go back for it. But apparently there's a lot of teenagers at this thing, so, and it's Friday night, so, and it's only open Friday, Saturday, Sundays. So Monday through Thursday, Old Tucson is closed. I don't know if that's because of the season that it is, or if that's its regular schedule. But I found out it was only open Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and since tomorrow and Sunday I'm going to be online with Networking Riches, I only had today that I could go. So that's why Tombstone got moved from today over to Monday, which worked out well, because 9 years ago, I had a severe high sprain on my left ankle. And it's been, every now and again, it flares up for whatever reason and all that. And of course, I'm walking around Old Tucson there and my ankle starts giving out on me. I'm like, crap. And then I remembered back to a couple of nights ago, up the front on my own, I'm on the laptop, so I can't really turn it around, but up the front between the two seats, there's this hump thing there for the center console. And I sometimes stand on that to reach a couple of the cabinets up where the DVD players are and the DVD things are. And I was on that and slipped. And I didn't think anything about it. Yeah, except for the fact that all that walking today aggravated it. And so now I have this nice swollen ankle. So now I have to find a pharmacy so I can go get compression bandages and ice. And thankfully, I'm going to be sitting for the next couple of days with Networking Riches. So I can sit, and I've worked it out. So I'm going to get up bright and early tomorrow morning because it's dark and I don't want to drive in an area I'm not familiar with in dark. So I'm going to get up bright and early tomorrow morning, whip up to the pharmacy, grab my compression bandages and my ice packs, and come back here. And I've got a portable table I'm going to set up by the couch. I'm going to sit up with my feet propped up, or my foot propped up, because I need to get it ready for next week because it's got a lot of walking coming next week. A lot of walking. Today was a lot of walking and there was a lot of wind. Hence the lovely windblown look to the hairstyle. What else do we see? Oh, I saw the going down here. Saw the gunfight. Yes, that was interesting. That was an interesting gunfight. Because they had this basically the story was they had this sheriff who made up his own laws and would shoot people just because he didn't like them, or they talk back to him or whatever. And this young guy comes in and says, "You're not going to do that anymore." They end up having this big shootout. The angle I was on was not the greatest to watch it because I got up there a little late, but that's okay. But I did see the stunt show, and that was good. It was really funny because the guys are, let's see, there was Daniel and Dave were the two cowboys that were greeting everybody as they came in and making fun of people as they came in. And some of the people had no clue that they were being made fun of at the time. It was hilarious. I had a plastic shopping bag with my stuff in it, and I had my backpack on the back, and I had Casey Kiwi with me. But did I think at any point in time to take Casey Kiwi out and you can get pictures with the actors and all of that sort of stuff after the shows and all that? Did it even enter my brain? No. And he looks at me, he goes, "You realize that we can see through your handbag there, so it makes it a great target for stealing." And I looked at him and I looked down at the bag and I said, "Well, it's just shopping." I said, "The one you got to worry about is this one on the back." And I turned around so we could see Casey Kiwi, and he goes, "Oh my gosh, you got a kiwi in there?" And the other guy on the other side turned around and says, "Wow, it is a kiwi." And I just looked at these two guys and I said, "Thank you." And they're like, "What?" And I said, "Thank you for not asking me if it's a platypus or a duck or some other thing." And they looked at me and go, "Platypus?" And I said, "Trust me, people ask me if it's a platypus or a duck." And I said, "I'm very impressed that you both recognized it as a kiwi." I said, "That's awesome." And so I went and sat up on the back seats and watched this great. The show was great. It was awesome, full of lots of humor. And this one kid, it was so funny. They wanted two women to come down so they could show you how you punch in Hollywood, do show punching and that, because they were showing you a couple of little stunts that they did and how they did them, and they were showing you how to throw a punch. So they got this woman to go down, and and it turned out she was from Alaska, and she was there with her husband and their little boy, and so they end up doing these fake punches, and there was an older woman on the other side with Dave, and this guy was with Daniel. And so someone from Alaska throws this punch. Daniel turns around and he suddenly goes, and then all this blood starts coming out of his mouth and down his shirt and everywhere. And when this woman gets back and so they end up cleaning them up and all that. But when the woman gets back, her son turns to her and goes, "Mom, did you really hit him?" And she's like, "No, it was all pretend." This kid was petrified that his mother had actually hit one of the stunt guys and caused him to bleed. It was priceless. It was awesome. It was so, so good. And then, of course, they're having all these shootouts and they're shooting each other and they're jumping off buildings well, not jumping off buildings, falling off buildings and all of this sort of stuff. And at the end, there was this other little kid of just a couple of paces along from me, and he was really, really upset because all these people have been shot. And his mother had to, "Look, it's pretend." She says, "Look, they're back up. They're walking around. It's all pretend. It's okay." But this kid couldn't get past the fact that they had been shooting people and people had been dying. It didn't matter about the fact that they had gotten back up again and gone running around and climbing up buildings and falling off. It didn't matter. The fact was that people had been shot. That was as far as this thing went. It had been shot. But yeah, so it was a really good show. I've got a couple of video clips that I'm going to post, and I've got a whole bunch of photographs. I mean, there was just such fascinating information there. They've got a museum thing there. They've got the historic, what are they called? The hang on, I have it on here somewhere. Oh, where did they go? One of the historic, the Arizona Sonora Western Heritage Foundation. They're there, and they've got this museum thing there, which is really fascinating to go through because it's not just a museum on the movies that were made there. They also have like a display there on the villains, like the gangs like Jesse James and his gang, Butch Cassidy and his gang. Who else do they have there? Oh, the ones involved with the OK Corral, they had a thing on them. Then they had about the lawmen. So you had like Wyatt Earp. They had a replica of Davy Crockett's gun there, Old Betsy. Actually, no, that was over in the courthouse, the town hall. What else did they have there? So they had some interesting people there on display, but then they also had stuff from the different movies and TV shows, and like you go, and they had in a display case. I thought, I recognize that dress, and it was the dress that Laura Ingalls would wear. Not Laura, Melissa Gilbert would wear when she played Laura Ingalls as the married woman, with the one with the blue collar and all the flowers all over it. That was there. So they had some of the costumes there and that sort of thing. And so it was kind of cool to go around and see that. And they had the newspaper articles about some of the movies that have been made there. But there's been a lot of movies, a lot. I mean, we're doing that tour around with the tour guide in the morning there. And I'm just sort of like, I have no clue what he's talking about. He's mentioning all these movies. I have no clue. And then it says True Grit. And I go, I've seen both of those. I've seen the original with John Wayne, and I've seen the new one with Jeff Bridges. I've seen both of those. So I was like paying attention. Yes, I remember that scene. And the Young Riders 2. I'm like, yes, I know those ones. And what else did he mention? And so every now and again, like I would just go along and, oh yeah, yep, okay, all right, I understand that, yeah. 3M goes, yes, I know that one. And then you carry on and you go, Mask of Sorrow, yes, I know that one. So it was sort of like, most of the time I was sort of like, I don't know that movie. Oh, that sounds really good though. And I like write down the name of the movie, and yeah, I've got to go check out McClintock. That sounds really, because I talked a lot about that one, so I thought, well, I've got to go check that one out. And then they were talking about some other movie, and I don't know that one. And then mention the actors, and I go, oh yeah, I've seen them and stuff before, but don't know that movie. I have to go check that one out. And so there was a lot of movies that he was mentioned, so I'm like, oh, you have to check those out. And then there's some he mentioned I just had no clue on, didn't interest me at all. The pictures looked really good. And then he'd pop up with some movie, and I go, oh, hang on, pay attention. Yes, I remember that scene. Yes, okay, that's where that was done. Awesome. So it was a lot of fun. I am exhausted. I've done a lot of walking today, and most of it on a bung ankle that was giving out on me. And it's all gravel there at the movie studios. It's all gravel. It's uphill. Not really much uphill. It's pretty level. But it's good. They got stagecoach rides you can do, but that was extra for those. The train ride was included. But it was just a really, really good, fun day. So if you're in Tucson and you want something fun to do for the day, like they have the whole list here going from 10 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock in the afternoon of all the stuff that you can do. And yeah, I mean, you can even go talk to the mercantile, and he said if he ain't got it, you don't need it. that was their attitude. If you ain't got it, you don't need it. I love that. Yeah, so they just had some really great, and they do the history tour like 2 or 3 times a day. And I didn't go to the I didn't do the Can one. I could have gone and done that one. Huh. Oh well, missed that one, but that's okay. I was exhausted. I got back before nightfall, so that was okay. So that was my day to day. I spent the day in the Old West out there in Tucson, Old Tucson. It was well worth the drive. You're driving out there for miles. It's like 30 minutes from the campground here. And one thing I found really interesting, but I couldn't really find anywhere to pull over. And by the time I found the passing areas, it was too late to stop. But there was just like vegetation all as far as you could see. But cacti, like the tall, skinny cacti, were everywhere. They looked like little tree stumps. They looked like they were just these tall things sticking up over top of the vegetation for as far as you could see. It was awesome. Oh, and then we also got to see Golden Gate Mountain, which you get to see in a lot of westerns and that sort of stuff, and the Three Sisters, which you also get to see. And then there was one of the Clint Eastwood movies where he comes up over this hill and down, and it was done between Golden Gate Mountain and the Three Sisters. There's a road area, so you get to see that whole backdrop. And they had the High Chaparral, the place. They did a lot of filming for High Chaparral there at the lot. They had the farmhouse. They did all the outside bits in the yard outside for the actual. They didn't do the insides at Old Tucson. They did those in somewhere else. But all the outside stuff that was done on the ranch, where the house. It is Networking Riches, and yeah. So we will see you guys tomorrow, and it looks like I have dropped my connection. Let's see if we can get it reconnected. Let's see here. It looks like the Wi-Fi is playing up. Excellent. But we'll catch you guys tomorrow. Have a super fantastic sparkling evening. And yeah. Hei konara.